Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to the Mothership Zeta no-kill run. Last week we blew up 2 generators, and only the one in the hangar bay is left, so let's talk to Paulson.
Still one generator to blow up. Figure you should be off doing that instead of hanging around here.
Oh. Apparently the game does skip their confused where am I greeting at some point. Presumably after you've blown up a generator. We talked to Elliot first, and his freaked out reaction seemed a little strange, considering he'd already been free and talking to the other abductees for several days. Anyway, tell me how you were captured by these aliens.
Doesn't matter now. Only important thing is, well, I guess it's revenge.
Can you at least tell me where you're from?
Can't say as it matters, or that I'd feel like telling you anyway.
Oh, nice. Oh, come on, Paulson. You can tell little old me just about anything. I'll understand.
Well, I appreciate that, miss. It's just that it's not easy to talk about. I lost my wife and my boy. One minute we're riding back from town. Next, we're floating in the sky. Then we're here. They're screaming and crying, and I can't do a thing to help them. Haven't seen them since. And now someone's gonna pay for it.
So now we understand why he's so pissed. Anyway, similar to the situation with Elliot, you can't get through his section without killing anything unless he's with you. And whether or not you need him to be unkillable depends on a decision I'll talk about when we get there. Luce does, so I'm a pacifist. If blowing the generator in the hangar requires any killing...
Well, now you're speaking my language. Hell yeah, I'll come with you.
Great. Let's get going.
You go do what you have to do.
That is the plan. As I mentioned last week, the hangar bay becomes a sort of horde mode thing where you have to survive multiple waves of alien security charging your position before the door to the generator unlocks. Or, to be more accurate, kill multiple waves. With the stealth suit, surviving wouldn't be a problem. It's the killing that would make it tricky to keep your kill count at 0 without some help.
Well, I thought I've seen it all. What the hell is that thing?
That is the flying saucer Luce was investigating when she got abducted. Glass half empty, we're not disrupting alien routine as much as we thought if they still have time to finish their salvage operation. Glass half full, we've got them worried, and they wanted to hurry up and get it done before anything else goes wrong. Dunno.
Whoa, I don't know what those tall shiny things are, but I'd stay away from them if I was you.
Now, there are some optional side rooms along the east wall with some minor loot that I'm not going to bother with because I seriously doubt Paulson is going to be as stealthy as Elliot was, and I think he's already getting us detected. In fact, where the hell is he? Paulson? Paulson? I don't see anything on the compass. Maybe he got stuck at the entrance. That sometimes happens. But he was with us when he warned us about the pylons. I guess that could have been a sound effect, not dialogue, but I don't think so. There he is. But he'd catch up at a loading screen. Or not. What the hell?
Yeah? What is it?
Are you coming or not?
You go do what you have to do.
What I have to do is blow up this generator, and I need your help. Okay, he's here. Good. Coming? Yes. Anyway, what was I saying? Right. To get to the generator, we have to go up to the platform on the south wall. And there's a hallway in there that wraps around to the control room on the west wall, and that's where the generator is. There are several drones and charging pods scattered around, which might be helpful if you have the control device, but we don't. Where'd he go already? Getting in trouble wherever he is. For crying out loud. You know what? Screw it. Hopefully he'll catch up later when he takes care of whatever distracted him. And we're back to hidden, so that's good. If he killed whatever it was, maybe now he'll keep up. I still don't see him. Do see a couple crystals. Well, this is where we need to go, so... There he is! How the hell did you get up here already? And why aren't you attacking those aliens? Paulson? Aliens? Wife? Son? No? Okay, now I'm really confused. Caution. Danger.
If I go, you're coming with me.
So, when Daniels or Beckett got detected, it definitely increased the chances that we'd get detected, but they'd aggro as soon as they saw an alien. And a lot of the times, we'd still be hidden while they were in combat. But apparently Paulson won't aggro unless the player is in combat? Doesn't make any sense. What the hell is going on? And by combat, I mean our detection status is danger. Well, we're back to caution and he's still fighting. Okay. And that was very weird. Anyway, the generator room is right up here. There'll probably be an alien by the controls. Yeah, right there. These switches trigger an energy pulse from... Hello? Paulson? He's right there. Paulson? Oh, good. The big tough cowboy hell-bent on revenge just bolts. Great. The switches trigger an energy burst from pylons at corresponding positions around the perimeter. Let's see if we can use one. They have a short cooldown, but if you use them strategically when aliens assault the hangar bay, you can kill most of them before they even reach the control booth. Hello. Which doesn't bump up your kill count. And while that feels wrong, fixing it would be riskier than I think it's worth, for reasons I'll talk about when we get into technical details at the end. So, if you're role-playing a pacifist, you're on the honor system. If you're doing a no-kill challenge run and you're only concerned with keeping creatures killed at 0, blast away. You'd still probably need Paulson's help, because at the end a few teleport in behind you. I guess it's theoretically possible you could lure them down to the hangar floor, but I doubt you could get them to stay there while you run back up to trigger the pylons. And Luce won't be using the pylons at all, so we definitely need him to be unkillable. And preferably not running off at random. When you use the generator room door control, all hell breaks loose.
I don't know what that sound is, but it can't be good. Watch yourself. I think we're about to have company.
Yes, we are.
I'll stay up here to draw a bead on the aliens as they rush us. If they get near those towers, hit the buttons and fry.
Okay, I won't. My original plan was to find a quiet corner to hide in while he satisfied his thirst for revenge, but I might have to stay detected to keep him aggroed. And from the sound of it, caution isn't good enough. Glad I still have a couple hundred stim packs. Yeah, he's still ignoring them. Nor do the aliens seem to have much interest in charging the control booth. I swear, they never cluster around the pylons like that if you want to zap them before they get up here. The game's just daunting me. That is so tempting. Alright, I'm going to have to stand up and draw the aggro so Paulson will feel like getting involved, but first I'm going to drop a save and zap a few aliens just for fun. Oh, right off the edge. Nice. All right, now that I got that out of my system. Paulson? Help? Please? Pretty please?
End of the road for you.
Good. By a very generous definition of good.
I'm trying to hold them off.
What's he doing? Did he freeze as soon as I crouched? Well, now where's he going? I mean, I can't think of any reason he'd prioritize enemies downstairs over ones right in his face. Is it because I'm back into caution now? This is weird. There he is.
I'll blast you in half.
Yeah, he just won't fight unless I'm in combat too. Or maybe finish one off if he's still fighting when I go back to caution. Well, we probably have 200 stim packs left.
Kill all of them.
And it looks like we're going to use them. Or maybe not. There are 2 healing arches in here. As long as we don't take more damage during their cooldown than they heal, we'll probably be okay. Yeah, that's more like the rampage of vengeance I was expecting from him.
Tricky bastards are coming out of the woodwork.
There's the problem. Some of these guys just refuse to charge the control booth. I'm willing to act as bait for the aliens, but not the Guardian drones. Deactivate them, and then we'll lead the aliens to Paulson. Oh yeah, they're still back there. Now, I've said many times I'm approaching this more from a role-playing angle than a no-kill challenge run, and I admit this is pretty sketchy. If the goal was just to get through it with my kill count at 0, I could have used the pylons to zap them. Luring them into Paulson's kill box kind of feels like I'm crossing the line where I'm complicit in their deaths.
Heads up, more aliens coming in.
Paulson. Oh, for the love of Todd.
Aliens got up here again.
Where are you going?
The hell if we're dying up here. Take them out.
That's your job, remember?
Heads up, more aliens coming in. How many of these things are there? Keep hitting those buttons and take them down when you can.
I think he's trying to leave the level.
Heads up, more aliens coming in.
He just can't because that force field comes on when you try to open the generator room door. Dude, seriously.
Well, what do you want?
I want you to kill the aliens. Think anything in here can prove useful?
The only thing useful in here is me and my gun. Now let's keep moving.
He says without a trace of irony. Let's go.
Suit yourself.
Okay, that's promising.
I'm putting you down.
Did he run right by that guy to get back to the control booth? Apparently so. Heal. Paulson, there are more of them right behind me.
How many? Kill all of them.
Yes, that's the idea. Any more down there? Is that the last one?
Flying ships. Now I've seen everything.
Well, that was definitely non-combat chatter. But the force field's still up. Oh, of course it is. That was only the first wave. So where's the second wave? Oh, no. The script is probably only checking if everything's dead and deactivated robots are still alive. That's why Luce can use the robotics expert perk in the first place. And that's a real problem because now there's no way to get Paulson to kill them. This might require a little outside-the-box thinking. Okay. As much as I enjoy debating ethics, this is really more of a physics problem. Most space junk is one of two categories. Whole satellites that malfunctioned or were decommissioned but not deorbited, and debris from satellite collisions with other satellites or micrometeoroids. But some of it is tools and equipment that got away from astronauts during spacewalks. If your hand was absolutely perfectly still when you let go of something in orbit, it would orbit right beside you forever. But even the tiniest bit of relative motion, and it'll drift away. The point being, if you push something out of an orbiting space station, it doesn't just automatically plummet to Earth and burn up in the atmosphere. It assumes a new orbit determined by the delta V with whatever released it. And robots don't need oxygen. They might run out of power if they drift in space for an extended period, but round them up and plug them back into a recharging pod and they'll be just fine.
There's more aliens in here. I can smell them.
So... And sure enough, here comes the second wave. I'm not saying impatience is a valid reason to abandon your ethics. I'm saying that guy isn't dead. He's just enjoying a private moment away from the other aliens. And I probably shouldn't be watching him.
Finally. Let's get rid of that machine and then get the hell out of here.
Okay, that technically worked, but...
Damn aliens got up here again!
It's way too goofy.
Keep hitting those buttons, and if I go, you're coming with me!
It just doesn't fly from a role-playing perspective or for a no-kill challenge run. Well, it's not the first time I had to fix something and try again. Oh, there really is another alien up here with us. Must be one of the ones that teleported into the generator room.
That ought to piss those aliens off. If we're done here, we should get back to...
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I'm going to drop a save just in case, but I'm going to quit and see what I can do to make that less of a mess.
Hold on there. Don't take another step. No telling how far down that goes.
Turns out his AI is set to unaggressive and helps friends and allies, which means he'll never initiate combat, but he'll aggro if something attacks the player.
There's a whole bunch of important-looking gizmos up there. That's gotta be where the generator machine is.
I changed the code in the alternate recruitment topic to bump him up to aggressive, in addition to making him unkillable, and hopefully that'll minimize the goofiness. Or maybe it won't. Buenos dias, hombre. Reckon I could get me one of them hog legs that shoots lightning? Third time's the charm, maybe? The mod now has 2 features related to this objective. The alternate recruitment topic for Paulson should now make him unkillable and hellbent on revenge, for real this time. He's still with us, off to a good start.
Well, I thought I've seen it all. What the hell is that thing?
But there's also an optional feature that sets a timer when the siege starts, about the same length as it takes to fight off both waves in a normal playthrough. That'll open the generator room without all the aliens being dead.
Whoa, I don't know what those tall shiny things are, but I'd stay away from them if I was you.
So now you have a wealth of options depending on how you want to play.
Hold on there. Don't take another step. No telling how far down that goes. There's a whole bunch of important-looking gizmos up there. That's gotta be where the generator machine is. I'll blast you in half!
For a no-kill challenge run, you technically don't even need the mod to complete this objective. Recruit Paulson with the vanilla topic, or make him unkillable if you don't want to be quite that hardcore about it. Disable the timer, use the pylons to fend off most of the attackers, let him mop up the rest, and your kill count should still be 0. If you're role-playing a pacifist who's genuinely committed to minimizing death and destruction, leave the timer enabled, don't recruit Paulson at all, don't use the pylons, and rely on stealth, speed, or toughness to survive until the door opens. Or if you're loose, who refuses to kill anything personally but has no problems with bodyguards willing to kill on her behalf, recruit Paulson in psycho mode and wait for the timer. Yeah, he's still over there fighting. Anyway, let's try to open the door and trigger the alarm that starts the siege. And then we'll see what happens. And now I should finally be able to stick to my first plan of finding a quiet corner to hide in while Paulson gets some payback.
End of the road for you.
I think the timer actually fits in pretty well plot-wise. Like, some of the aliens rush the control booth, but as we saw earlier, a lot of them hang around the first room and the hangar floor. Combined with the exit door locking, it kind of gives the impression that they're more interested in blocking your escape than charging a dangerous fugitive who has the high ground, because they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that other shoe turns out to be when they teleport a mini-boss into the generator room to flank you. It's probably just my ego talking, but that almost feels more right than just having to exterminate them all, even if you're not playing a pacifist.
Come on, you.
It's kind of a mixed blessing that the healing arches don't work on NPCs. Good that the aliens can't use them. Kind of a shame that Paulson can't. And this should be opening pretty soon. I don't think I mentioned that he's still unkillable, but no longer immune to damage. With Soma, she kept getting knocked out so many times during the jailbreak that it was kind of goofy, so I had to make her completely immune to damage. With Paulson, it was the opposite problem. Seeing his health bar stay full during this intense combat made it too obvious that he was in God mode. Of course, if we'd recruited him with the vanilla option, he'd be dead right now, so it could be worse. Oh, hello. Doors open. He would have warned us about that if he wasn't unconscious. Anyway, let's blow this thing.
Let's get rid of that machine and then get the hell out of here.
My thoughts exactly. Just don't want to leave any crystals behind.
Scratch one generator machine. That ought to piss those aliens off. If we're done here, we should get back to the others.
By the way, sorry about having a fireworks pun in the title of last week's episode and then not actually watching any generators explode. I promise it wasn't an intentional bait and switch con. Hopefully that one makes up for it. And it won't be the last either.
Wow! You did it! Now you're gonna have to go outside of the ship. I know it looks scary, but that's the only way to the top. Oh, make sure you wear a spacesuit before you go out there, or you could die. Don't forget.
Fight to the aliens.
Alright, I'm gonna take care of some inventory management and other housekeeping, save, and then show you some interesting stuff in the GEC. And yes, even after all 3 generators are destroyed, you can still access the optional side areas, or the 3 areas that used to have generators, for that matter.
All right, get that suit on and get outside. The sooner we get out of here, the better.
Anyway, if you bail out when I start talking about technical details, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and leave a comment if you have questions or suggestions. First, let's have a look at why the other abductees sometimes behave in unexpected ways when they're helping you destroy a generator. We'll start with Elliot, because what's in the GEC aligns perfectly with what we actually observed in the game last week. His AI settings are unaggressive, meaning he'll never initiate combat. Foolhardy, meaning once he's in combat, he won't flee no matter how badly he's wounded or outmatched. And his assistance is helps friends and allies. He's in 2 factions, DLC 5 Cryo Squad faction and Player faction. The Cryo Squad faction is allies with itself, which interestingly isn't the case for all factions, and neutral toward the alien faction. You don't see it listed here, but if a faction isn't explicitly marked as ally, friend, or enemy, it's treated as neutral by default. The alien faction is likewise neutral toward the Cryo Squad faction, but oddly, faction relationships don't have to be symmetrical. And relevant to the topic at hand, the player faction considers the alien faction neutral, but the alien faction considers the player faction enemies. And that story checks out because they definitely aggro if they spot you. The end result is Elliot won't aggro on aliens unless they're in combat with the player or one of his squad mates, but aliens will aggro on him if they spot him. But Daniels and Beckett are very aggressive, meaning they'll attack enemies or neutrals on sight, which includes aliens. And as soon as they attack, Elliot joins in because he's set to help friends and allies. Now, Paulson. He's also unaggressive, foolhardy, and helps friends and allies, and also in two factions, DLC 5 NPC follower faction and player faction. The follower faction does consider the alien faction enemies, but he won't aggro on them unless they're in combat with the player for the same reason as Elliot. He's unaggressive, but helps friends and allies. He only kills aliens in the engine core because those are scripted events. Unlike Elliot, Paulson isn't flagged as a player teammate. He just has a follow package, which is why Elliot mimics your sneak state, but Paulson doesn't. Also, unlike Elliot, Paulson's follow package doesn't have the continue during combat flag set, which is why he's prone to wander off once he engages an enemy, while Elliot will try to stick with you even under fire. But here's where it gets weird. The alien faction considers the follower faction neutral, just like the Cryo Squad faction. But as previously established, they consider the player faction enemies. So why didn't they attack him, even though he makes no attempt to sneak? And to be clear, our detection status had nothing to do with him. There are 2 trigger zones in the hangar that create a detection event on the player, one at the bottom of the first stairs, and one on the balcony with the switches, the 2 places we went into caution. Well, I had forgotten that enemies will never detect or start combat with a character that has the ghost flag set. I used it instead of the Essential flag to make Soma unkillable because, like I said earlier, with Essential set, she kept getting knocked unconscious over and over during the jailbreak, and it just got silly. I cut and pasted that line of code for Elliot, and I think the results suit his canonical personality. He's happy to be stealthy and not engage the enemy as long as you're undetected, but when his squad comes under fire, he backs them up. But it definitely doesn't work for Paulson. It's bad enough that the aliens won't attack him, but there's another side effect I didn't know about and I haven't seen documented anywhere, even on the GEC wiki. Not bashing, just saying if anybody watching is a contributor, they might want to update it. It turns out a character with the ghost flag won't initiate combat, although they will participate if a script forces them to or they get dragged into it because of their assistance settings. That's why he wouldn't attack them unless we were in combat, even after I bumped up his aggression from unaggressive to aggressive. So the final version of the alternate recruitment topic doesn't use the ghost flag, it just marks him as essential, which is why he went unconscious when the Guardian drone was pounding on him. And it does still bump up his aggression from unaggressive to aggressive. Not only does that make the process of getting to the generator a lot less goofy, but lore-wise, I think it also better reflects his whole hell-bent on revenge vibe. But for the real pacifist solution, where no aliens at all need to die, I had to reverse engineer the script that controls the siege. And while it's no less complicated than some of the other big climactic battle scenes we've looked at previously, the implementation is really elegant. There's an unmarked quest that controls the whole hangar section, with an extremely simple quest script which mostly just declares variables for tracking the status of events. Most of the juicy stuff happens in the result scripts for each quest stage, which don't have any objectives, so nothing shows up in your log. Various trigger zones and switches and so forth scattered around the level set an associated quest stage. For example, when the player hits the generator room door switch, it sets the quest stage to 101. The quest stages that subsequently spawn enemies add 1 to the variable num enemies for each one they spawn, and those enemies are copies of the generic ones you see elsewhere, except they have a unique object script that subtracts 1 from num enemies in their on-death block. So the game always knows how many enemies are still alive at any given time. There's a monitor script that checks that value, and when it gets down to 0, it sets a quest stage to start spawning the second wave. Relevant to our purposes here, when the second wave gets low enough, it sets stage 111 to spawn the aliens who flank you by teleporting to the generator room, which means I didn't have to do anything fancy or technically risky to open the door. The PAM support quest checks to see if the Hangar quest stage is 101 or higher. If so, it checks if the timer feature is enabled. If so, it starts a timer. Otherwise, it sets the timer flag so we don't bother checking anymore. I didn't check that first because the player could change the PAM configuration at any point up to pressing the button. When the timer expires, we check the Hangar quest stage to make sure the flankers didn't already spawn, which could easily happen if the player kills all the enemies in the first 2 waves before our timer runs out. If they haven't, we just set the Hangar quest stage to 111, and the vanilla scripts handle everything from there. I wish they were all that easy. Unfortunately, they're not. Because the enemies are spawned dynamically, they're necessarily temporary refs, which means the PAM scripts have no way to determine who or what killed them. There are at least 2 ways we could theoretically get around that. The function that spawns them returns a usable ref ID, but the quest stage result scripts don't save it. We could change that so that they do, and then we could detect when they're killed by a pylon. Or we could change the scripts on the enemies themselves to do much the same thing. But while the implementation here is elegant, it's still complex. Maybe not as dangerous to muck about with as the convoluted system that controls the confrontation with Calvert or even the big arena battle in Waste Disposal, but still complicated enough to make me nervous. What I mean is, when we set the quest stage, we're using an interface that was provided for the exact purpose we're using it for, in exactly the way it's supposed to be used, just not in the same order as it's used in the vanilla sequence of events. Very low risk. But go changing things in the code behind that interface, much riskier. And more importantly, we'd be introducing a potential conflict with other mods. Now, with the Crushers, I had no choice. Creatures killed was getting bumped up for creatures the player absolutely did not kill. And unfortunately, there was no way to fix it that didn't introduce either a load order conflict or a runtime conflict. But while I'm reluctantly willing to do that if absolutely necessary for the core purpose of the mod, enabling a no-kill run, I just can't do it for an accountability feature. And speaking of the Crushers, maybe I need to start taking one of those brain supplements they advertise on TV, because while I stand by my assessment that there's no way to fix them without introducing a mod conflict, I was completely mental when I said directly editing the base object meant I couldn't make the feature configurable. Just put a check for the feature flag in the code I changed and use the target's own ref if it's enabled and player if it's not. Which, as soon as I realized I was mental, I did. And that's it. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.